Hello and welcome back to another Pokopia video this week. And this week is going to be all about storage in Pokopia. Okay, so at the beginning of the game, you'll probably notice pretty quickly that storage is, well, difficult to manage. So before you get the big boxes, you might have made a nice little storage thing with all these tiny little boxes, and then also made the mistake of putting these photo frames above it, and then been like frustrated every time you went to go open the box because it would always select the frame first, and then you had to like quickly toggle down to make sure you can put stuff into the box instead of the frame. Well, unfortunately with the small boxes, it's a little bit more difficult, but I recommend if you're going to use the small boxes to put a block down and then like so. Pick it up and we'll put it on top right here. And that way, when you put your little photo frame to tell you what's inside, you'll walk up to it and it actually wants you to add items first. So if you're only looking for storage tips early game and you only have these little chests available to you, this is a better method than on the ground. Putting it on top of the block and then you can have your frame telling you what's inside, I think that's the best. So this is my first storage unit ever, and we have since upgraded. So in this video, I want to talk to you about upgraded storage and different storage options that might fit better for you. So welcome to my warehouse. This is my warehouse. It's incomplete still. You'll see a few missing blocks here to hide all the generators, but it's well lit. It has all the stuff. So this is how I have personally done it. So I have a little underground storage facility, and the reason why it's underground, and I recommend doing underground for pretty much everybody, is because you can expand it infinitely. So if you run out of storage space, you can, I don't know, break down the wall and continue this on. So if I wanted to extend this one, I could just break down this wall, push it further, and I would have a great storage hallway. So here you'll see I have all of my blocks and more blocks and more blocks, followed by all of the resources that I use for crafting, refined and unrefined, and then house building things, followed by food and gardening, and so on and so forth. So however you want to do your storage is up to you. You don't have to do it all the same way as anybody else, but here are some things that I have found, and this is just what works best for me. So I'll go ahead and show you what options there are and have done. So before I did the the little clusters of 4, I had storage like this. So if you see these walls right here, yeah, this used to be my storage, and I got really sick of running back and forth through this whole thing and then go down all the way. It was too much running, so I consolidated and condensed it a little bit. But my original storage was like this. I had storage box, frame on the storage box, and that's just how I did it. So this method right here, where you have it like storage box with the frame on it, you can actually, oops. What you can do is force your boxes to be right next to each other like this. So this will also save some space. You just have a whole wall of these. And what's nice about like this direction is when you walk up to it, it'll almost always toggle to add items first. Unless you're like a little bit further away, then you get the frame. But usually when you're walking up against it, it'll give you the add items. Same with here. You know, all of your frames are separated with a little wall. This one does take more space, which is what I ended up having, is I just had all these walls between my boxes and it just took up so much space. If you're looking to consolidate space or not have like, you know, a bunch of boxes and a bunch of rows and a lot of running around and having to roll out your way to whichever storage box you're trying to get to, I don't recommend these orientations. But if that's how you like it, or it looks better, or it's more aesthetically pleasing and you don't mind, go ahead and use that. I definitely like frames to showcase what is inside each box. I think that it's probably the most efficient way. If anybody is into the Minecraft scene, you probably know all about that. So the other way that you can do things, and this is something that I've seen pop around, you can make your storage boxes tiered so you can get double, kind of like double the storage. And if you have the walls, you can do this frame for this box, this frame for this box down here. The one problem is that you have to jump up to here to get access to these top boxes, and I don't really like that personally, so I haven't employed this method. But if that's what you want to do, this is a good way to consolidate a little bit more. So if you like this like horizontal orientation for your boxes better, then this might be a better way to go for your items. Now, with the small boxes, I said, you know, it's probably better to put your frame down here and then your box up top. You can do the same thing with your big boxes, and it works kind of like the same way. It's easy to toggle back and forth, but again, it kind of takes up a lot of room. So it's really dependent on what you want. When it comes to frames, putting them on a wall or on the box itself, both work perfectly fine if they're in this horizontal orientation. Now, it does get different once you switch it up. I'm gonna primarily go through storage boxes, orientation, frames, and stuff like that. These are some of the options I've seen float around and people have used in various other videos and pictures. This is probably my least favorite, where you have a box and then a frame up top. If you do need to toggle between top and bottom though, you can hold down your right bumper to make it a little bit faster to toggle between the two. Just a FYI. So the one way where frames are just kind of not my favorite is when you have it in this orientation where it's inside of a wall. So if you want the frame on the box, I highly recommend having it stick out from the wall. Here, I'll show you what I mean by that. Okay, so say we want it sticking out the wall. If you do it like this, you can still access it, no problem, easy peasy, right? But if you were to make it completely inside the wall, now you're kind of playing around with, like, it may or may not work out as great especially if you're putting another one on top of it. If this is the only box you have, obviously it works perfectly fine. If you put another box up here though, it may not like this. This is probably the least efficient way to do it, is have it sticking in your wall and then put this over on top of it. This makes no sense to me. So I'm just going to show you options and then you can choose what you want to do with your options. So we're going to go over the layouts first, and then we can cover any other things about storage and what I found the easiest. So let's start here. Okay, so now we have this wall. If you have walls like this, it becomes a little bit more difficult to toggle, especially if it's encased with more wall. And so this is why when you go over to my storage, you'll see that I put the frames on a wall next to it so that I can easily toggle between top and bottom chest. Or you can make them stick out and then do it this way. Another orientation thing, so if you still like that horizontal look, you can also do it like, hey, I have box here. Problem is with box here is that you will have to go and look down for this one and then jump up to go to the top one. Not really my most favorite layout either, that's why I didn't employ it, but you could, like, I want item on the left to be the bottom chest, and on the right can be the top chest, whichever way that makes you feel. I don't know, but I'll go over these options again. I'm gonna keep saying this. I'm gonna keep giving you options, and then we're gonna go over what I found the most efficient and easy to use. So I've seen a lot of people do this, where they have their, like, long side orientation sticking out with the frames on top, but because it's sticking out entirely, like, you can just build a whole row of these, and you can still add your items very easily, jump up and have a second row, or a third or fourth. You can pretty much build it as tall as you want. Another option is this. This one is less easy to use. So this is, like, easy to use, but it does take up, yet again, a lot of space, in my opinion. If you want to condense the space down, now you have the issue of not being able to access that one up there, and yet again having to, like, jump up. But it still works. But my most favorite and most efficient layout that I've found so far has been this, like, little 2x2 square where I can go toggle up, down, up, down, up, down. Okay, so if I want ordinary blocks, I just go up here, boom. Say I want these, like, striped blocks from down here. It's pretty simple. It's actually very simple. So the frame here shows what's in this box up here, the sticks down here, and so on and so forth. And you can keep doing this. I think this is like a clean, easy way to find your stuff. It also kind of like makes it most efficient because now you only have to have one block worth of box sticking out. I don't have to jump up and down to get to double like tiers of my storage. And I think that that's been the most efficient way for me to do things, at least for like layout wise, right? So let's talk about where to store what and how to store what. So yay, storage, even more so. The way I have mine set up is I have all of the things that I use for crafting. So this hallway is all craftables, crafting used items. So raw resources, refined resources, all of it is in this hallway. And then I have all my blocks down here. Some of these blocks are used for recipes like beach sand, this cosmic brownie looking block, volcanic ash. Like some of these are used in some recipes, but not like a lot of them. So they're here closer to my crafting station. If you don't already know, crafting stations take up to 4 boxes, the 4 closest boxes inside of a prefab house, or the 4 touching it if it's not inside of a prefab house. And yes, I did test this, and no, if you put boxes upstairs and your crafting table is downstairs, they do not count towards your crafting thing, by the way. So if you're trying to have a little like workshop area, I think it's best to just put 4 boxes around your crafting station, and that's kind of like all you need, really. And inside of these 4 boxes, I will keep refined items, so like all my processed lumber, bricks, ingots, glass, concrete, stuff like that will go in here. Why is Stardust in here? That's funny. This will be like the blocks box, so if I need soil or limestone for like marble or something, those cosmic brownies, or sorry, glowing stone, that will go into this box. This box is all about extra weird stuff, and that's where we're gonna put the Stardust actually. Some recipes require berries or stardust or flowers, tea, and then I also keep my gears and my Pokemetal and stuff like that in this box. And then my last box has the raw resources, so sticks, stones, vines, fluff, twine, you know, all the raw materials. And what's really cool, which I haven't done yet, but I do want to do, so we're just gonna grab our little paint balloon. I'm gonna say, hey paint balloon, this is my raw materials, and then you can go to all of your boxes that have raw materials and color code them the same thing. Some people like to do it like, oh, all green is like the vines and the leaves and the sticks and stuff like that. It doesn't matter so much. So if I wanted red, I could just paint this box red, and all of these pre-processed boxes would also be red. And I think the color coding system is going the extra mile, but it's really nice to know and have a color coding system that says like, hey, this is where what is, right? But you don't have to go like that. You don't have to do that. You can also put your frames on here to say what's inside each box. So if you prefer to have pictures, you can just put the picture frames on here and say, hey, these are, you know, certain resources. So yeah, that's kind of how I sorted my material. And I kind of put building blocks, which include like the different types of walls and floors, and also roof pieces, doors, etc. All of these are kind of in this like one hallway, because when I'm building stuff, I kind of just need to have access to, I don't know, all of the stone walls or all of the bricks or all of the wood pieces or special blocks. This is how I sorted mine. You don't have to sort yours in the same way. You can sort it however makes sense to you. This is just like kind of what I've did. And then for here, paints go with berries because berries make paints. Honey, tea, carrots, and mushrooms are kind of all in the same box because, I don't know, I don't have that many of them at any given time that I need to have their own separate boxes for them. And then crops, so I put any stage crops in here if I were to do farming at like a higher level, I guess, and have different stages. I might decide to try and, you know, separate those into different boxes if you want to. You don't have to. I think it's perfectly acceptable to just put all of your crops. Just remember that seeds and plants, they are at different stages, and so if it has this like little like leaf looking thing, that's a seed, whereas this one is a plant. Same with this potato plant that's on the frame. And then I did make a box specifically for each vegetable, and the reason being that I use a lot of beans and potatoes. Not so much the tomatoes. I do use them for like certain recipes, but primarily I'm using beans and potatoes. And so I set up a little kitchen here to just make it really quick, really easy to make food. If I have made extra food for some reason, I do put them in here. So right now I'm almost low on my bitter hamburger steak. This is what I use to give to Snorlax because I really want rare recipes and stuff like that to pop up in the sparkling pond things. But if you're looking for specific things from the Mosslax buff, you can have your food pre-made. So say you're doing back-to-back days or you're time skipping and you're specifically farming for certain items, like rare shop items, right? You'd want to have a stack of that food pre-made. So everything is just kind of here all together. And then I put nature-y stuff, so hedges, flowers, trees, anything that's grass or moss. They're kind of in here because I do like to decorate with them a lot. And sometimes what I'll do is I'll take the seeds out, plant them with a growth Pokemon, come back, rototill them out or magnetize them, and then drop them in the box so that we have ready to go hedges for when I want to decorate. And it's the same thing with the trees and the flowers. This plate is really actually mostly like decorative food types items. This is where everything goes kind of based off of personal preference, okay? So I liked to separate anything that's food related, whether it's decoration or not, doesn't really matter to me. Some people like to separate their items based off of like what the game designates it as. So for example, if you push the minus button, it'll tell you whether this is a relaxation item or a decoration or a toy. I don't really follow that anymore. I have now changed my storage to just be, these are kind of outdoorsy looking items, whereas over here I have indoorsy miscellaneous items. This is like all of my electronics. These are utilities, so sinks and refrigerators and like those kinds of furniture type things. Beds, tables, small chairs and big chairs, construction type items, fire items, science items, and then music and stuff. I will make more little like subsections of different types of items. You can even like divide things into boxes based off of whether it falls under cute or if it's slender or sharp or, you know, shiny, because when you go into your Pokedex, it will give you the Pokemon's favorites, and if they like lots of nature and soft stuff, maybe you want to sort your stuff based off of that. But I have found it kind of like easier for my brain to process that things are in boxes based off of like, is it indoors, is it outdoors? If it's indoors, does it have a certain category? Like, is it fire type items? So all of the fiery stuff kind of just lives in this box. You know, artsy, cute, and doll things kind of are just stored here, right? If I like sciencey lab stuff, you know, my papers and books and all sorts of random crap that you might find in an office or a laboratory, I kind of dump them in here. Whereas like this one with the alarm clock, that's just kind of just like random inside your house things. I haven't really changed that yet. And then in this box I put what I consider storage bins or containers, things that look like they belong in a house that you could put stuff inside. So cabinets, shelves, the bookshelves, the magazine racks, you know, those kinds of things. That's kind of where I put all of that. You'll see that I have a little Pokemetal and a, you know, Pokemetal ingot box specifically designated. That's because I've been doing a lot of Pokemetal farming, and also I want quick access to my rare Pokemetal so that I can literally just go roll up the stairs really quick and jump over here to do my 3D printing. I did in fact move my Poke Center. I was doing an experiment. This is like a little side tangent, but if you take items out of your Poke Center, so say you want those like bubbly like lab things, you don't have the recipe yet, or the magazine rack, or whatever's inside the Poke Center that you can like yoink. I did an experiment. It does not respawn if you take it out and then relocate it, so just keep that in mind. I do want this empty though, because for fun fact, Poke Centers have unlimited electricity, which is a great place to put all of your vending machines so that you can just go into one place, get a bunch of bottles of whatever, and you don't have to go bounce around to all these sorts of places or build a giant thing and have extra electricity just specifically for vending machines. So there are limits to how many of certain things you can have in any given area. So your energy is capped, and using the Poke Centers for specifically like energy driven things like vending machines, it's more efficient that way. But my whole spiel on all of Pokopia is I want efficient but also looks pretty. So this is gonna become more like an IKEA than anything else, and what my plan is like this whole old storage facility that was used for, well, storage that has now been easily condensed and expanded upon here. I'm going to start putting things out there that have patterns. So, for example, I have all these beds from Vespiquen, and they all have these different patterns, right? And I'm like, I don't know what this pattern looks like. What if I don't like it? My thought process was to build a nice little like place. It's kind of like an IKEA almost, my very own personal IKEA in my own world, where I can put all of these, you know, items out here, like all the chests and all the different fabriced things, and see if I like them, right? And then I'll be like, oh, so I have this one Pokemon, and this quilted plaid design here looks really good for that particular Pokemon, and the house that I'm building it, you know, I'm gonna take this. Or it's like, okay, I'm never gonna use this pattern, so I'm gonna just have Smearguru fix it up and change it for me. So that's that idea for the whole warehouse. And as you can see here, we were talking about electricity and energy and how there's a limit. So you'll see a lot of generators here being used for the electricity and stuff like that. You don't have to have a bajillion of these, and they're actually the least efficient energy source. The only thing that's really nice about them is that they are 1 block worth or 2 blocks worth, because you need to have a transmitter. But you have like only 2 blocks worth instead of all these like poles sticking out. And by the way, if you're using utility poles, I'll just do it here for a second. So like this is fine because it sees it, it has access to it. However, if you want to hide it behind a wall, say like this, you have to be connected to the item before you build the wall out again. So for example, it's gonna work because I built the wall around it. But if I were to go in here and try to place it solo, it might not like that because it's obstructed. Though I think this might have been patched, I'm not entirely sure. So play around with it if you really want to use utility poles. You can hide them behind walls. It works just as fine. Originally, I was going to use utility poles in the wall, but I decided to use the wireless transmitters, and that's totally fine. The last thing that I want to touch on for storage is a dump box. So you see this random box over here. This is my dump box. You can have more than one if you really need to, but I think one should suffice. And this is where if you say, I don't know, you're on a time crunch, and you really don't want to put everything away, but you also don't want to have a full-ass inventory, you can literally just have a dump box, toss everything that you want in here, and then at a later date, you know, the next time you play, you can come to this box and actually like sort it into their designated boxes. I also have this one little box over here, and this is for stuff that's really like It's really just for these mysterious goggles, because if you lose these, it's over. You won't get another pair. It's done. So I'm keeping like anything that I consider or deem important or don't want to have more than one of. I put like the goggles and the dowsing machine here. You can make another dowsing machine. I'm not going to buy the recipe for it. I just don't think it's worth it for me. I'm just going to keep one, and that's kind of like what I've done. And then star pieces, I don't know. I only have one star piece, and I don't have friends, so I don't need them. So they just kind of live here. Maybe I'll put them in frames and make them look pretty or something like that. And then the last little section, I forgot to touch on this, is kind of like prefab houses, CDs, treasures, those kinds of things. That's just how I separated it out. There's so many CDs in this game that I think I might need 2 boxes if I don't have them all already, which I'm pretty sure I don't. And you can check that in your collections, which is this little chest in your Pokedex. You can check the collection and see how much of each thing you have, or like if you've gotten everything or not, recipe wise, item wise, you know, stuff like that. And then in this box I just keep like the gym badges and the treasures, the small relics. I don't know, I don't know what I'm gonna do with them yet, but I will do something with them at some point. But yeah, this is like my storage thing. I think this is the most efficient way to do storage, keeping the items that you use most often for crafting more centralized so that you can just quickly grab and replenish as needed. And then obviously having your 4 designated boxes around your crafting bench. I really think it's fine to only have 4. I think some people were like, oh, I wish I could pull from all, but like really at the end of the day, you don't need more than 4. But that's just my opinion. I think that replenishing it is not as tedious as people make it seem. Unless you're like crafting like a massive amount of blocks. Like, I don't know. I haven't built anything super ginormous just yet. So, you know, maybe once I start building like really big things, like, I don't know, the water park resort, you know, maybe then I'll have a different opinion. But as of right now, my opinion is most of everything I can build and craft, and if I need to replenish, I can replenish pretty quickly. All my stuff is kind of like right here, and then anything that's not crafting used is just kind of over here. So I don't know, let me know what your storage ideas are, if you have a better system, or if you know, if this video helped you, let me know. I would love to find out just how much this video helps anybody. If you want more Pokopia content, I have so much that I can talk about. You know, if you find a topic that you want me to cover, please let me know. And obviously, if you like the video, please drop a like. If you like my content in general, or you want to know whenever the next video releases, which is always on Sundays, feel free to subscribe to the channel. I'm trying to get a partner this year, so we're hoping for a great year. Thank you so much for all your support. I can't wait to see you in the next video.